Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I am here to discuss this important topic of plant physiology, that is water absorption and transport. In this presentation I will discuss about the classification of soil water. Then I will discuss what is drought and what is wilting. Then I will discuss pathways of water movement, that is apoplastic pathway, symplast pathway and transmembrane pathway. So these are the topics that I will try to cover in this presentation. Let's dive in. Firstly, water absorption. As we know that the major organ of water absorption in plants are roots. तो जो पानी है वो roots के through ही move करता है. And then जो soil का water है ये सारा का सारा पानी plants के लिए available नहीं होता है. So for that we use different terms. There is one term that is called hollard. Hollard is the total amount of water which is present in the soil. Then comes gizzard. So that is the amount of water which is available for the plants. Then the remaining water which is not available for the plant is known as icard. So these are the terms that are used for the water which is present in the soils. So water is absorbed through roots. So these are the major organ of water absorption. On the basis of availability of water, we use different terms, like we have hollard. It is the total amount of water available in the soil. Then we have gizzard, that is water that is available for the plants. तो वो पानी जो पौधों के लिए available होता है, that is called gizzard. Then icard, the amount of water which is not available for the plants. ये पानी पौधे absorb नहीं कर पाते. So icard, water that cannot be absorbed by the plants. Next comes classification of soil water. So we have different types of water which is present in the soil. First one is the gravitational water. As the name indicate, ये जो पानी है it percolates in the downward direction and reaches the water table. और ये जो पानी है ये पौधों के लिए अवेलेबल नहीं होता है. बिल्कुल small amount of water is absorbed by the plants because it is out of reach from the plant roots. So free water that moves downward through the soil due to gravity and reaches the water table, और इस पानी को कहा जाता है gravitational water. Then this water is not available for the plants frequently. Very less amount of water is available for the plants. In excess rain condition, water is unable to move downward and causes water lodging. तो जब soil saturate हो जाती है पानी से, so तब ये जो पानी है ये move नहीं करता है to downward direction में, and that leads to the flooding condition जिसे हम water lodging कहते हैं. So water movement is directly proportional to the size of the particle. It means जितना बड़ा साइज होगा सॉइल पार्टिकल का उतना ईजिली वाटर परकुलेट करेगा, और जितना छोटा साइज होगा पार्टिकल का उतना ही कम पानी परकुलेट करेगा, मीन्स डाउनवर्ड डायरेक्शन में मूव करेगा. सो दिस इज अ डायरेक्ट रिलेशन बिटवीन द साइज ऑफ पार्टिकल एंड मूवमेंट ऑफ वाटर. सो दिस वाटर परकुलेट्स और मूव्स डाउनवर्ड स्लोली इन क्ले सॉइल देन दैट ऑफ सैंडी सॉइल. जो सैंडी सॉइल है उसमें पानी फास्ट मूव करता है क्योंकि पार्टिकल साइज बड़ा होता है, and it moves slowly in the clay soil because the particle size is very smaller. So we have this gravitational water जो downward move करता है under the force of gravity. Next water is capillary water. This is very important water which is available for the plants. This is the only form of water, soil water, which is available for the plants. It exists between the soil particles. जो soil particles हैं वो इस पानी को hold करके रखते हैं, and this is available for the plant roots. So it remains in the soil after the gravitational water has drained away. जो gravitational water है उसके move करने के बाद जो पानी soil के particles hold करते हैं, that is called capillary water, and this water is retained on the soil particle due to surface tension. Capillary water can evaporate easily at ordinary temperature, तो evaporate भी easily कर जाता है ये पानी. This form of water is available for the plants and is known as available water. So water holding capacity depends upon the soil texture, ऑर्गेनिक मैटर एंड सरफेस टेंशन. तो ये फैक्टर्स हैं जो वाटर होल्डिंग कैपेसिटी के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, दैट इज सॉइल टेक्सचर, ऑर्गेनिक मैटर एंड सरफेस टेंशन, एंड दिस इज द फॉर्म ऑफ वाटर विच इज अवेलेबल फॉर द प्लांट्स. नेक्स्ट कम्स hygroscopic water. So this is the water which is present on the surface of soil particles. So forms very thin films around the soil particle, and it is held on the surface of colloidal particles. Water is held so tightly by the soil particles through forces of adhesion that it cannot be taken up by the roots. So ये भी जो water है ये भी पौधों के लिए available नहीं होता है, and it varies inversely with the size of particles. That is, smaller the size, more the hygroscopic water absorbs. So जितना छोटा साइज होगा पार्टिकल का उतना ही ज़्यादा ये हाइग्रोस्कोपिकली पानी को होल्ड करेगा. this one, and this water is not available for the plants. Next comes chemically combined water, as the name indicates. So water chemically combined in the structure of soil mineral, and it is not available for the plants. It cannot be removed by high temperature. इसे हम high temperature से remove नहीं कर सकते हैं. The next comes surface runoff water, as the name indicate. जो पानी soil के surface से float करके सीधा ही water reservoirs में जाता है, like we have streams, rivers. That water is known as surface runoff water. So that this water directly goes into the reservoirs immediately after the rainfall, and very small amount of water is available for the plants. Next comes atmospheric humidity. So this is the water which is present in the air. So it is the water which is present in the form of vapor. तो vapor की form में जो पानी present होता है हवा में, that is called humidity. It can be absorbed by some hanging roots of epiphytic plant. So we have some orchid plants, उनमें जो roots होती हैं they are hanging roots, और उसमें एक tissue होता है that is called velamen. So that tissue is able to absorb this humidity from air. So hanging roots have spongy tissue that is known as velamen tissue and have hygroscopic hairs जो कि humidity को absorb करते हैं. Next important term is field capacity. So as the name indicates, this is also known as the water holding capacity of soil. So this is the amount of water remaining in the soil a few days after having been wetted by rain or irrigated and after free drainage has ceased. It means ये जो पानी soil में रहता है आफ्टर रेनफॉल 2-3 दिन के बाद जब हम इसमें चेक करते हैं सॉइल मॉइस्चर का कंटेंट, और आफ्टर इरीगेशन सो 2-3 डेज के बाद जो वाटर का अमाउंट लेफ्ट रहता है सॉइल में, दैट कैपेसिटी ऑफ सॉइल टू होल्ड दैट वाटर इज नोन एज वाटर होल्डिंग कैपेसिटी और फील्ड कैपेसिटी. सो इट इज़ ऑल्सो नोन एज वाटर होल्डिंग कैपेसिटी ऑफ द सॉइल. इसे हम वाटर होल्डिंग कैपेसिटी भी कहते हैं. देन मॉइस्चर कंटेंट इन द सॉइल इज अबाउट 15 to 25% फॉर सैंडी सॉइल, 35 to 40% for the loam soil, which is the best soil for agriculture, and 45 to 55% for clay soil. So as the size of particle is very smaller, so greater is the water holding capacity. Field capacity decreases as the soil temperature increases. जैसे जैसे soil का temperature increase होता है वैसे वैसे field capacity decrease होती है. Next is available water capacity. It is designated by theta A. So the total available water or water holding capacity is the portion of water that can be absorbed by plant roots. So वो पानी जो plant roots absorb करती है soil से, mathematically we can say this available water capacity is the amount between field capacity and permanent wilting point. So mathematically we can express it as this available water capacity is equal to field capacity minus permanent wilting point. So वो जो पानी का difference है that is known as available water capacity. So the amount of water available, stored or released between field capacity and the permanent wilting point of the water content is known as available water capacity. Next is wilting. So this wilting is the shrinkage of plant parts due to excessive loss of water or excessive transpiration. That condition is known as wilting. So shrinkage in the volume of water in plant cells that causes them to lose their turgor. So ये जो plants हैं ये अपना turgor lose करते हैं जिससे ये droop down करते हैं इसके parts जो भी parts हैं. So this condition is known as wilting, and it occurs when the water loss is greater than that of water absorption. So loss of turgidity of leaves and other soft aerial parts causing drooping, folding and rolling of plant part is known as wilting. So it occurs when the rate of transpiration exceeds the rate of absorption. Means जब transpiration का rate ज़्यादा होता है, rate of absorption से पानी absorb कम करते हैं, so that leads into this condition that is known as wilting. So it is of 3 types. First one is temporary wilting, as the name indicates. This temporary drooping down of leaves and young shoots due to loss of turgidity during noon. Means afternoon में जब धूप बहुत तेज़ होती है तो temporarily जो plants हैं वो droop down करते हैं plant parts जो soft parts होते हैं, and in the evening and morning time they revive themselves again. That is known as temporary wilting. Plants regain their turgor after watering. अगर हम उसमें वाटर प्रॉपर देते हैं तो ये अपना जो टर्गर है वो फिर से रीगेन करते हैं, दे कैन गेन देयर ओरिजिनल शेप एंड साइज. Next is incipient wilting. Again, this is the initial or partial temporary loss of turgor in plants that occur in the presence of adequate soil moisture. So it is associated with excessive water loss through respiration. Then next comes permanent wilting. As the name indicates, when the plant parts are not able to regain their turgor even when they are placed in suitable environment. जब plant parts अपनी original shape को revive करने में सक्सेस नहीं पाते हैं, then when they are placed in suitable conditions, so that condition is known as permanent wilting. So it occurs at a point and that point is known as permanent wilting point. उसे कहा जाता है permanent wilting point. Next, soil moisture content at permanent wilting point is around 3 to 5% in sandy soil, 10% in silt and 26% in clay soil. So this is the mathematical figures for different types of soils and its permanent wilting point. Next is drought. So this is a condition when there is no rainfall for longer duration and soil becomes dry. So that is known as drought or physical drought. So condition of no rain for longer duration is known as drought. It is also known as physical drought. There is another type of drought that is called physiological drought. When the soil water is combined with some salts, or it means this soil water has greater solute potential. Soil water has greater solute potential, then the plant roots are unable to absorb the water. So that condition is known as physiological dry soil. Even alkaline soils, in alkaline soil, plants are unable to absorb the water, so that is again physiological dry soil. Next comes water absorbing organ, as I have already discussed. So the major organ of water absorption is root, and it has different parts. So most of the water absorption occurs with the help of root system. However, small amount can be absorbed by aerial parts. So aerial parts are such as stem and leaves. In young root, it takes place through the root hairs just above the zone of elongation that I will discuss one by one. So there are different parts of this young root. Like we have the apical part that is called root cap, and this is a multicellular protective structure. Means इसका main काम है protection provide करना, और protection किसको provide करता है? ये this portion जिसमें cells होते हैं which are actively dividing cells. This is called root apical meristem, and these are dividing cells, meristematic cells continuously divide करते हैं. तो इन cells को protection provide करता है root cap. Then after that there is a zone of elongation where जो divide cells, division के बाद cells बनते हैं, they elongates, means they attain their full size, and that leads or results in elongation of root, जिससे root का जो length है increase होता है. Then next comes zone of maturation, and it is also known as zone of root hair. So these are epidermal growths which are very sensitive tubular structures, and they are responsible for water absorption. Means they increase the surface area of root for water absorption. So young root consists of these 5 distinct. So the parts of roots, firstly we have this apical portion that is called root cap. So this is a multicellular structure, cap-like structure, which is present at the tip of the root, जो कि root के tip में present होता है, and its main function is protection. So it protects the growing region of the root. जो young growing region है, means जो meristematic cells हैं इनको protect करता है, because this young region is very soft and delicate और ये soil में penetrate नहीं करता. So for the protection of these sensitive cells, this root cap is present. Next comes meristematic zone. As the name indicates, meristematic zone means the cell of active division, means जो actively divide करते हैं young cells. So these cells are known as meristematic cells. So region just behind the root cap. So ये जो region है which is just behind the root cap is known as meristematic zone, and it consists of small compactly arranged cells which are thin and isodiametric, means having same diameter. The region adds new cells to the roots and is called zone of cell division, और इसे कहा जाता है zone of cell division. And water absorption does not take place in this zone. इस zone से पानी absorb नहीं होता है. Next comes zone of cell elongation. So this is present just behind the zone of cell division. Cell division के just behind This zone is presented is called zone of elongation. So it lies just behind the meristematic region and consists of cells which are in a state of elongation and is responsible for increasing length of the root. Next is the root hair zone and zone of maturation. So it lies just above the zone of cell division, cell elongation. Cell elongation से just ऊपर present होता है ये, and xylem and phloem elements are well developed in this zone. इस zone में जो xylem और phloem elements है वो अच्छी तरह से develop हुए होते हैं. So roots covered with root hairs, and these root hairs increases the surface area and helps in maximum absorption of water. So the maximum water absorption takes place through this zone, that is called root hair zone. Root hairs are tubular hair-like extensions of epidermal cell, and they penetrate into the capillaries. जो soil particles के बीच में capillaries like structures होते हैं वहाँ पे penetrate करते हैं, and they absorb water due to this difference in water potential. It means जो water potential है वो soil water का ज़्यादा होता है, and it is less in the root hairs, so that's why this water moves inside due to osmosis. Next is mycorrhizal water absorption. As we know that there are certain plants or trees which lacks root hairs. ऐसे बहुत सारे plants और trees हैं जिनकी roots में root hairs present नहीं होते हैं, so they require association of fungal hyphae. जो fungal hyphae हैं वो उनकी help से पानी को absorb करते हैं. So this absorption with the help of fungal hyphae is known as mycorrhizal water absorption. So there are a lot of trees or plants which shows association with fungal hyphae, and these fungal hyphae act as a root hairs like structures, and they helps in increasing the surface area of root and helps in absorption of water and minerals. So that is known as mycorrhizal water absorption. So most plants are reported to have mycorrhizal association with fungi. A large number of fungal hyphae get associated with the young roots and extends to a sufficient distance into the soil and increases the surface area for water absorption. The absorbed water and minerals are transferred to the roots of the plants, and in return they get food from the plants. As we know that this pinus and orchid seeds, they are unable to germinate if they are not getting the fungal partner. So for germination they have to establish themselves into the plants establish with the fungal partner, means they have to show this mycorrhizal association, otherwise ये जो orchid के seeds हैं और pinus के seeds हैं, they are unable to germinate. So this is the pinus seedling. So and we can see here, so these hair-like structures are the fungal hyphae, and they increase the surface area for water absorption. And this is the seed of orchid. Orchid की जो seed का size है बहुत ही छोटा होता है, and they have very less endosperm जो कि reserve food material होता है embryo के लिए. That's why they require this mycorrhizal association for absorption of water, and after that they can germinate. Next is pathway of water movement in roots. So water is absorbed by roots, and the zone from where water absorption occurs is the root hair zone. And this water moves towards the xylem tissue in the center through cortex, then endodermis and pericycle. So the path of water is from epidermal hairs, root hairs to cortex, and cortex to endodermis, then to pericycle, and finally to the xylem channels. So it follows three pathways. First one is apoplast pathway, second is symplast pathway, and third one is the transmembrane pathway in the roots of higher plants. And this concept of apoplast and symplast was given by Munch in 1931. In case of apoplast pathway, so the water movement is through the non-living part of cell, and it mostly involves the gap between membrane and cell wall. So this water movement through this intercellular space, or this gap between membrane and cell wall, is known as apoplastic pathway, apoplast pathway, and it occurs up to this region, that is endodermis. और endodermis के बाद एक common water transport होता है, that is through the cell के अंदर से पानी move करता है, that is called symplast pathway, because in endodermis region this chemical substance is deposited, that is called Casparian strips. ये जो Casparian strips हैं ये पानी के फ्लो को यहाँ पे ब्लॉक करती है, इसलिए इसको एंटर करना पड़ता है सेल के अंदर. While in case of symplast pathway, water moves through the cellular protoplast, सेल के साइटोप्लाज्म से पास करता है, and we know that there is a bridge between two cells, a connection between two cells, that is called plasmodesmata. So जो ये plasmodesmata है, इसके थ्रू जो पानी का मूवमेंट होता है, that is called symplast pathway. And in transmembrane pathway, as we know that water crosses the two membrane, one at the time of entry of water and second during the exit of water from the same cell. So when water crosses the two membranes, so that is known as transmembrane pathway. Sometimes there is presence of vacuole in the cell, and the membrane of vacuole is known as tonoplast, and that movement through the vacuolar membrane is known as a tonoplastic or vacuolar pathway. This is correctly known as vacuolar pathway of water movement. Firstly, apoplast pathway. So this movement exclusively occurs through the component of cell and does not involve living protoplast. तो living portion जो cell का है वहाँ से ये पानी की movement नहीं होती है. So it occurs through the cell wall and the intercellular spaces without crossing the membrane. तो ये तो gap जो होता है उसके through और intercellular spaces के through पानी move करता है without crossing the plasma membrane. And movement is blocked by Casparian strips which are present in the inner surface of transverse and radial primary walls of endodermis. तो एंडोडर्मिस में ये थिकनिंग्स प्रेजेंट होती है जिन्हें कहा था कैस्पेरियन स्ट्रिप्स. ये इसके पाथ को यहाँ पे ब्लॉक करती है एंड दिस वाटर हैज़ टू एंटर इनसाइड द सेल एंड क्रॉस द मेम्ब्रेन, thus forcing the water to follow symplast pathway in the endodermis. So the movement to the xylem follows a water potential gradient, means जो पेरिसाइकिल है यहाँ पे वाटर पोटेंशियल ज़्यादा होता है ड्यू टू एंट्री ऑफ वाटर, वाइल इन xylem इट इज़ लेस. सो इसलिए जो पानी है वो मूव करता है हायर वाटर पोटेंशियल टू लोअर वाटर पोटेंशियल और जाइलम के अंदर पानी एंटर करता है. नेक्स्ट इज सिम्प्लास्ट पाथवे. So the symplastic movement of water occurs from cell to cell through the plasmodesmata. So these are the connections between two cells. So ये जो structures हैं bridge-like structures between two cells, this is known as plasmodesmata. It involves the entire network of cytoplasm interconnected by plasmodesmata between living protoplast of the cell. So इसमें जो पानी की movement होती है that is through the cell and mainly occurs with the help of these connections which are known as plasmodesmata. So it involves the living component of the cell for water movement. Next comes transmembrane pathway. So here from one water moves from one cell to another by passing from one end of the cell and exiting at the other end. So the water crosses at least two membranes in each cell in its path. These two plasma membranes are found on entering and exiting of water from the cell. एक यहाँ पे एंट्री पे के समय मेम्ब्रेन को क्रॉस करता है, दूसरा इस सेल के एग्जिट के टाइम ये मेम्ब्रेन को क्रॉस करता है, एंड दिस पाथवे इज नॉन एज ट्रांसमेम्ब्रेन पाथवे. एज दिस मूवमेंट द पाथवे इन्वॉल्व्स टोनोप्लास्ट, समटाइम्स इट इन्वॉल्व्स टोनोप्लास्ट मीन्स वैक्यूल की मेम्ब्रेन को भी इन्वॉल्व करता है, एंड इट इज़ कॉल्ड वैक्यूलर पाथवे, और इसे कहा जाता है वैक्यूलर पाथवे ऑफ वाटर मूवमेंट. Mechanism of water absorption, as we know that water is absorbed by roots. So in higher plants it takes place through the root hair zone of the root. जो young root होती है उसके जो root hair zone है वहाँ से पानी का absorption होता है. Walls are made up of strongly hydrophilic pectic substances and cellulose which are permeable for water. तो जो cell की walls हैं, root hairs की walls हैं, they are permeable to water and salts. According to Kramer, the active absorption of water is of negligible importance, means जो पानी का absorption that is passive absorption means इसमें कोई भी energy का expenditure नहीं लगता है, ATP are not used for water absorption. So this statement was given by Kramer. Firstly, passive absorption of water. So it means there is no expenditure of energy for water absorption, and 98% of water is absorbed through this passive absorption. So it is most common method and accounts for about 98% of water which is taken up by the plants. So mostly takes place when the rate of transpiration is usually high during the daytime. And there are some evidences for passive absorption which support this view. A negative pressure is commonly found in the xylem sap of the shoot during rapid transpiration. Negative pressure means that it have some sort of suction pressure, so it can take the water from surrounding cell. In case of xylem sap, plants can absorb water even in the absence of root system. जो plants हैं, if we put a twig in the water beaker, so this twig can absorb the water, so it doesn't require roots for this water absorption. The rate of water absorption by plants is approximately equal to the rate of transpiration. So जो water का absorption का rate है, that is approximately equal to the rate of transpiration, and when the rate of transpiration exceeds the rate of transpiration, then it leads to a condition which is known as wilting. उसे कहा जाता है wilting. So this is the twig that is put in the water, and this twig can absorb the water. Next is active water absorption, and there are two theories of active water absorption. One is the osmotic theory, and second one is the non-osmotic theory. The first one, osmotic theory of active water absorption, that was given by Atkins, Ersprung, Blum, and Priestley. According to this theory, imbibition by cell wall of root hairs, and as we know that cell wall is permeable, so water as well as solutes enters through it and reaches the surface of the cell membrane. Due to high osmotic potential and low turgor pressure, the DPD and suction pressure, or we can say suction pressure of the root hair is increased, and thus water is absorbed by endosmosis. Simply, it means that soil water has greater water potential as compared to the root hair sap, so the water will move from higher water potential to lower water potential. After absorption of water by root hair, its turgor pressure is increased, and thus DPD or suction pressure is decreased. Means turgor pressure is increased when water enter inside the root hair, so the turgor pressure is increased and DPD or suction pressure is decreased. There is some objection of this theory. This type of water absorption can occur only in branched root systems, plants having well profusely branched roots, and it is very slow process. In all conditions, it is not possible that osmotic potential of the cell sap always remain higher than that of the soil osmotic potential. So it is not possible all the time that the osmotic potential of the cell sap is higher as compared to the soil. Next theory is non-osmotic theory of active water absorption. According to this theory, absorption of water occurs against the concentration gradient, utilizing respiratory energy, that is ATP. So this is an uphill journey, and it requires energy, expenditure of energy. So it is verified by evidences that factors like we have low temperature, poor oxygen, sodium oxide, hydroacetic acid, and potassium cyanide. So these all factors, these all chemical substances are meant to reduce the rate of respiration, means they decreases rate of respiration and also decreases the water absorption rate, while oxygen, the master hormone or plant hormone, that increases the rate of respiration as well as water absorption. There are some objections of this theory. This type of absorption occurs only in slowly transpiring plants. Next comes factors affecting water absorption. So there are two factors which affects the rate of absorption, that is external factor as well as internal factor. Firstly, I will discuss about the external factors. So first one is the availability of water, soil water. So as we know that the capillary water is present in the soil that is available for the plants. So it is usually the capillary water which is absorbed by the plant's roots. A decrease in water content below the permanent wilting point or percentage causes considerable decrease in absorption of water from soil. Increased amount of water in the soil beyond a certain limit reduces the aeration of the soil, means in flooding condition जब बहुत ज़्यादा पानी present होता है fields में, so oxygen की जो supply है that gets reduced to the roots, and reduced oxygen supply to the roots retard the metabolic activities and reduces the rate of water absorption. तो जो roots हैं वो अपना metabolism properly continue नहीं कर पाते हैं. As a result of that, they reduces the rate of water absorption. The next factor is concentration of the soil solution. As we know that high water potential in the soil solution favors the uptake of water by plant root. It means the soil water should have higher water potential as compared to the root hairs sap. If osmotic potential of the soil solution will be higher than the osmotic potential of cell sap in the root cell, the water absorption will be suppressed. Therefore, water absorption is poor in alkaline soil. जो alkaline soils होती हैं, these are also known as acid soils. So in soils में जो absorption होता है water का, that is poor, and in marshes leading to physiological dryness, means that condition is known as physiological dryness. Plants are unable to absorb this type of water. Next factor is soil temperature. So the ideal range of temperature is 20 to 30 degrees Celsius for water absorption. Increase or decrease in temperature beyond this range decreases water absorption. Water absorption is almost dropped at 0 degrees Celsius because the viscosity of water and protoplasm is increased in the cell. water, and the water which is present in the protoplasm is increased, the cell membrane permeability is decreased, and all the metabolic activities of the root cells are retarded. So that's why at 0 degrees Celsius there is poor water absorption by the plant roots. Next is aeration. This is a very important factor. So air is required by roots for respiration, mainly oxygen. Poorly aerated soils contain lesser oxygen and more carbon dioxide. So if there is a higher concentration of carbon dioxide, so there will be decrease in the rate of photosynthesis as well as rate of water absorption. So result in accumulation of CO2 and inhibits the growth of the plants. Next are internal factors. So it involves root system. So plants with well-developed root system has greater water absorbing capacity as compared to the plants with poor root system. So it depends upon the depth, spread, density of the root system. A deep and profusely branched root system helps to obtain more water from the deeper layers of soil. The next factor is transpiration. Greater is the rate of transpiration, greater is the absorption rate up to a certain limit. The driving force for passive absorption of water in plants is transpiration. More the rate of transpiration, more will be the rate of absorption. The next is root metabolism. This factor has direct influence of the metabolic activities occurring in the root, means greater is the metabolic activity in the roots and greater is the rate of water absorption. This helps in development of root hairs, elongation of roots, and regulating permeability. The next is root disease, the factor which is important for regulating the water absorption in roots. So the water absorption is adversely affected by the root diseases, especially caused by fungal pathogen. This was all about for our today discussion about water absorption by plants. If you have any questions, queries, and any suggestions, you can give it in comment section. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.